I said I was going to review some comics, and by God, I'm going to review some comics. So it's been a while since I've done a comic book review. I don't know how many I actually did on this channel. I don't think I actually filmed any for this channel now that I think about it. I did a lot of it on the main channel, and then when I decided to split off, I moved everything over here, and that's why my comic reviews don't have many views on them. But we'll talk more about that later. I think I did like free comic book day hauls and stuff like that. But yeah, I have quite a few comics. A lot of them have been donated, and I've been meaning to talk about them for a while, but I kind of got busy with a lot of things. So today we're gonna start with Scud, the Disposable Assassin, which I'm probably gonna not put that subtitle in the description of the video, because then I probably get in trouble for it. So this comic is on loan to me from Pinto, who, if you follow the main channel, he does the regular movie vlogs with me. He also lent me Transmetropolitan. I did a review on that some time ago. Really cool he let me have this. I'm starting off my reviews with this because I've been wanting to get rid of this and give it back to him for a long time now, because I've had it for a long time and it's just been kind of taking up space on my desk. And one of the reasons I've had it for so long is because, well, look how thick this is. Look at that. This is a hefty read. In fact, I think this is thicker than book 1 of Saga. So yeah, it took me a little while to get through this. In fact, I had to put it down several times, but eventually I finished it. Fortunately, this comic is so good that it really doesn't matter how long you put it down for. Trust me, it doesn't matter. So this comic was created by Rob Schraub. I believe that's how you say that. He is an associate of Dan Harmon, the co-creator of Rick and Morty. And in fact, there is an episode of Doc and Marty, which is the web series version of Rick and Morty before they moved to Adult Swim. It was this sort of really cheap-looking flash animation, but it was really funny. So they actually did a video of Doc and Marty advertising this comic. So I thought that was really cool. Also, fun fact about Rob Schraub, he actually co-wrote the movie Monster House with Dan Harmon, if you remember that movie. The movie that is supposed to be like a horror movie for kids, but the true horror comes from the really dated CGI. Okay, so how the hell am I going to talk about this? Because there's so much to unpack in this book. Well, I guess I should start off with the basics. So, Scud, that's him right there. Scud is what it says in the subtitle. He is a disposable assassin. He's a guy, or robot rather, who stays in a vending machine until someone comes along, puts in a quarter, and hires him to kill off somebody. And the whole thing with him is that once the target has been assassinated, he blows up, hence the part where he's disposable. However, while in pursuit of his target, Scud actually finds the notice on his back that says that he's a disposable assassin, and once his target is killed, he'll be destroyed, and he doesn't want to be destroyed. So basically he becomes self-aware, and so he instead puts his target on life support at the hospital and takes up odd jobs to pay for the hospital bills, so it keeps the target alive and he won't blow up. And from then on, most of the comic is just him, taking on different jobs and, getting in all kinds of crazy stuff and exploring this insane world that they've built. And, well, that pretty much just scratches the surface on how crazy this book gets. I don't want to give away a whole lot to it because it is definitely worth a read. Now, like I said before, it is a very thick book. You see, there it is again. It's like a phone book, if anybody remembers what those are. But fortunately, there is a lot of it that is just, like action. So while it has a lot of, it does have a lot of dialogue, but I think there's just as much just, panels of things happening as there is dialogue. So it is a very easy read to get through. So you can just Most pages it's just a couple word balloons and you can go, and it goes by surprisingly quick, thankfully. And because when Pinto lent this to me initially, I was so intimidated by the thickness of it that I almost didn't want to read it. But then he said, "No, just trust me on this." So I eventually did read it, and I did get through it. I put it down several times. And it doesn't really matter that you put it down several times, because you'll get through it. You won't really miss a whole lot, because the turns this book takes is just so unexpected that you never know where it's going to go. So like I said, I didn't really want to give away too much about this book, because I really want people to read it, because it's absolutely worth a read. But I will pick out one of my favorite bits from this whole thing. So there's this whole thing where Scud gets his arm damaged, so he has to take it to a repair shop, but he has to go kill some more people, and so the guys at the repair shop give him a lender arm, which is like a human arm. So and then they tell him, make sure you feed it protein, and he's like, great, I'll just rub a sandwich on it. So but he has to like feed it through the little attachment there. See, there you go, right there, where he's feeding it a sandwich through the little hole. So anyway, the twist here is the arm he was given, it's like a werewolf arm. So in the moon, it turns into a werewolf. So then, for some reason, it causes him to talk funny. Like he starts talking sort of like all Shakespearean and weird and whatnot. So then that whole thing leads to a whole completely different crazy story. Also, this story arc also leads to my favorite character in the whole book, Drywall, who is another character with just a whole crazy backstory. He's like this stitched together, little ragdoll thing with zippers all over it. And apparently, nobody can really understand what he says. Well, the reader can't, but apparently Scud can. I don't know what this sound is supposed to be, but I always like to think it's just like the sound a zipper makes, considering he's got a zipper mouth and all these little zippers all over his body for some reason. Now, I should mention that this comic is very, very old. In fact, there's actually a Sega Saturn game based off of the first part of the story. I actually would love to get a hold of that. Maybe I'll play it for the gameplay channel or something. I gotta see if I can find it cheap on eBay. Sega Saturn games usually go for a lot. But anyway, it's been going on for a long time. It took a very, very long hiatus because apparently Rob was going through a whole bunch of crap, and a lot of that kind of does show in the story, but more towards the end of the story. But there is a bit like towards the end where things kind of go weird. Like Scud and this girl whose name is Susudio, by the way. I love that. There's a lot of pop culture references in this too. But they kind of go through this like weird time travel thing where they go to all these different places, and they have to fight other bad guys and everything. Basically, the story stops and it's just a whole bunch of filler. But it's not bad filler. That's what I love about this. It's not bad filler. It's still interesting and crazy. It's just kind of odd that things kind of stopped, and then all this weird things. I guess he had like writer's block or something, and then he eventually picked it up, and eventually he did finish it. But it was kind of funny that the story just kind of comes to a halt. There's a lot of very self-aware moments in this story. There were a lot of times where Scud kind of reminded me of Deadpool a little bit, because he was also very self-aware. In fact, if they ever do an animated series based off of Scud, I would actually love it if Nolan North voiced him, because I think that would be perfect. So, yeah, anyway, that is my review of Scud the Disposable Assassin. Absolutely loved it. Highly recommend. If you haven't read it already, check it out. I don't know if these giant versions are still available. Maybe it's available online or something. But yeah, this comic is insane in all of the right ways, and I love it. And now I can finally give this back to Pinto and get it off my desk, because it's taking up so much space. Alright, well, thank you very much for watching my comic review. Now, for those of you who have been watching me for a while, like I said earlier, my comic reviews don't usually do so well. So I decided that from now on, anything I get as a donation will go up normally. Like this. You know, I've gotten stuff off my Amazon wishlist. I've had people send me things. This is on loan to me, so I suppose this counts as a donation. But there are also a lot of comics that I, you know, found and read on my own. So from now on, all of those are going to be Patreon exclusives. So if you want to check those out, I actually do have one up on my Patreon already. So if you want to check those out, all you got to do is pledge $1 to my Patreon, you know, once a month, and you can get all kinds of exclusive content. I do, you know, commentary on Cartoon Clip Show episodes, and I'll have a lot of From the Longbox videos on there. And for those of you who like my review show, Cartoon Clip Show, those will from now on be available one day early on Patreon. So since I've reviewed this, I decided to do another Patreon review. So for those of you who want to check out my thoughts on Big Trouble in Little China and Escape from New York, the crossover comic, I believe I showed this in a video previously, but I've since then read it, and since we're talking about things that are insane, this goes pretty far out there too. So this will be available on Patreon for $1 or more patrons. Definitely have a few things to say about this. So yeah, check that out. That'll be up either about the time this video goes up, if not sometime soon after, maybe a day or two or whatever. I haven't really decided yet. But anyway, I liked Scud. Scud was really good, and I got some more comics I want to talk about, both for Patreon and for you know, regular release on this channel. And again, if you want to check out more stuff on my Patreon, all it takes is $1 a month. So, thank you very much for watching. Be sure to check out some of my other videos if you're not interested in Patreon. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys later.